What's going on, King of Kings family? It is day 16 of our Acts campaign, reading one chapter per day in the book of Acts from January 1st to February 1st, skipping Sundays. And today we're in Acts chapter 16, and I zeroed in on verses 6 through 10 that describe Paul's journey of going from town to town, sharing the gospel. And he doesn't have a roadmap that God gives him. In fact, he just kind of takes this path that seemed to make sense for him. He follows the land. It was a path of least resistance for him. And if you look on a map where this journey takes him, it follows a pretty linear path. And if he would have kept going on that path, he would have ended up in a town called Bithynia. But instead, he gets this. He's prevented from going there, and he gets this vision from a man in Macedonia calling him to go there, which would have been the complete opposite direction. So it's sort of like he hits this fork in the road. There's a body of water. He can go this direction towards Bithynia, but instead God sends him a vision where he goes the exact opposite way. It led him to having to cross bodies of water, much more difficult path for him to go. But until that specific call came, he just kind of went in the direction that made sense. And why that resonated with me is I think there's a lot of people, and there's been times in my own life where we wonder what God's will is for our lives. We're looking for something specific for God to say, and I do believe from time to time that God has specific things he wants us to do. I could have ended up at any number of churches, but I believe that God called me specifically to King of Kings. However, I think most of the time in our lives, we don't have specific directions from God. Does that mean we sit around waiting and doing nothing? I don't think so. I think that God has a specific will, but he also has a general will. And his general will for all disciples of Jesus is to love people, is to serve people, and is to find ways to share the good news of Jesus Christ with those that they come into contact with as they go about their lives. These are the things that all of us can do. And just as Paul went to the places that made sense to him to share his faith, we can go to the places that make sense for us to share. So for you, that might be your neighborhood. It might be with family members who don't really have faith in Jesus. It might be in your place of employment, at your school, in your friend groups. Wherever that might be, there are places in your life that God has given you the opportunity. He hasn't maybe given you specific directives to go there, but there are people that you are around where there's low resistance and high opportunity. And it's God's general will for all of us to find ways to share the love of Jesus, both in word and in action, with those that we come into contact with. So my prayer for us is that God would show us the places that we can go to share Jesus, where the resistance is low, the opportunity is high, and that when his specific will comes, where he says, no, I want you to go to this specific place, that we would have ears to hear and an open heart to do his will. So that's it for today. No reading tomorrow because we have church in the morning. So hopefully don't let the snow scare you off. Would love to worship with you on Sunday morning. I think God's got a word for us that will help us move forward in our faith journeys. So God bless, and we'll see you at church tomorrow.